Hello and welcome to Midwest Writers Room. Our mission is to encourage, educate, and celebrate writers of the Midwest. I'm Luella Schmidt.
And I'm Ken Humphrey. Today's chapter break episode features Jason Rumbaugh and his latest publication, Waves of Shrapnel, A Soldier's Journey, which came out in January 2026.
Jason Rumbaugh is a veteran, Purple Heart recipient, and a graduate of UW Stevens Point. He currently lives in Wausau, Wisconsin.
And I do want to note for the readers that when Jason was reaching out to podcasts, he asked ChatGPT for some good podcasts, and the Midwest Writers Room came up as part of the list, which I think is
Hey,
pretty cool. So let's take a look at Waves of Shrapnel. This is a dark, raunchy, and unfiltered memoir from Jason's time in the Iraq War. It captures the reality of deployment, the absurdity, the fear, and the dark humor that keeps soldiers going. While it doesn't hold back, at its core, the book is about brotherhood, loss, and honoring the men we lost. It's not a polished war story. It's the one that actually gets told behind closed doors.
fantastic. Jason, we are so happy to welcome you to Midwest Writers Room. How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. How you doing? Thank you so much for having me.
You
Yeah,
bet.
we're excited to have you on. So before we talk about the book, I want to talk a little bit about you. All right. So clearly your background is stated here from a military perspective, but did you have a background in writing before this?
A little bit, yeah. I had a writing emphasis class in college, and my teacher was pretty hardcore, but she didn't take it easy on me. Coming back as like a what do you call it? Like I was, I think, in my mid 30s when I went back to college, and I had forgotten almost everything. And she didn't take it easy on me, but I stuck it out, and I did really well in her class by the end of semester. And then I also just continued on with my education and earned a bachelor's degree at Stevens Point, and had some classes in between there. But yeah, I guess that's about it. I mean, I guess as far as this book is concerned, I've been kind of writing it in my head for a while, and I only started typing it out in October of 24, and finally finished it maybe like about 4 months ago, and then started to work on publishing it.
That's actually a good segue to my next question then is, was there some sort of trigger that you said, okay, now I got to write this? I mean, you said you'd kind of been writing it in your head, but I guess what tipped you over the edge to actually start pounding away at the keyboard?
Um, it was kind of funny. What actually got me like really inspired was is my wife and I we went down to the beach in Mexico, and this is kind of like our spot that we go to every once in a while. And I was reading this book, and it was also a memoir, but the memoir just didn't really land with me. And I was just thinking, God, even my life's more interesting than this guy. And he had like, thousands of 5-star reviews and all this. And I just didn't get it. Like I thought the book was really boring. And I thought maybe I was like, why don't I just write about like my time in the military for a while? And because I have so many like interesting and funny stories, and also like gripping raw stories, that I thought people would be interested in. And so I just kind of started typing it. And at first, it started out with like I just wanted to just write a paragraph. I mean, not a paragraph, a chapter, just to see what it was like. And I'm one of these people like I get excited about things, but then after a week, I kind of dump it. But thankfully, I just kind of stuck it out, and I finished the whole thing. It took me like a year and some change, but yeah, I'm done. So
So, Lowell always talks about finding her tribe. Jason, you're in my tribe, the dilettante. Oh, this looks really cool. I'm going to start it and hope I get
yeah,
make it past a week of interest.
yeah,
Hope it keeps me that long. There are more of us out there than we know.
yes, yes.
So let me ask you then, because your initial assumption is correct, right? Military life, military documentaries, recounts, all that stories have always been a fascination, I think, for the American public, and it keeps cropping up. Like War Machine. Have you seen War Machine on Netflix with Alan
No,
Richardson
no,
from
my buddies
Preacher?
keep telling me to check it out though, but it looks like Transformers on steroids or something. I don't know. I
It
didn't really watch
does.
it
It
yet.
does. And, there's a term that comes with, movies like this called plot armor. There's one
Mm,
character in this movie that's got the thickest plot armor that I've ever seen, because he survived stuff that, and it's not even the main character. He survived
Yeah.
stuff that shouldn't even go, they won't even
Yeah.
go mentioned. But it's just another example of just this our fascination or observance and recognition of our military and what they go through. Because there's actually quite a bit in this movie about the lead up to the actual fighting, like the main character's trials that he had to go through to reach the goal that he wanted to be, which was, I think, to be a what did he want to be? Delta Force? I don't remember which branch, but that's what he's working towards. So
Mm.
good to know. So you said it took you what, roughly about a year and a half to write the actual book?
Yeah, I started it in October of 24. So, and I ended it probably, oh, with all the editing, I took the book apart like 50 times. I went through it like 1,000 times. So that whole editing process probably took just as long as it did to write the book. It felt like, but I always kind of like had the mantra in my head that one of my professors told me. It was like, there's no good writing, there's only good rewriting. And I kind of just had that kind of mantra in my head the whole time, like, oh, this can always be a little bit better, you know. And
Amen to that, by the way.
yeah,
There is only revision.
yeah. So
Well, so
yeah, that was
I
a big
guess
motivator.
sorry, what was that?
Oh, that was a big motivator. That's all I wanted to
Yeah,
say.
for sure. Well, so you've shared a little bit about, kind of the struggles along the way about having to rip it apart and stuff. But I'm wondering if you would share a little bit, one of the things that I find so lovely about writing in general is that when we are trying to process our own stuff, like we can write it down and that often helps. And sometimes, like in your case, we can turn that into something for other people that is more than
Yeah,
just entertainment, And I'm wondering if you
yeah,
have anything you want to share about that process for you as the writing process and kind of getting all this stuff down.
yeah. So not unlike a lot of combat veterans, I've had to deal with PTSD and had to overcome trauma and everything. And I guess the process of writing this book, it took a lot out of me. I mean, I was probably um, like at times crying when I'd write it, but then like the next chapter or the next segment, I'd be laughing, and so it would be kind of like this roller coaster of emotions because it was things that I went through, and when they were just in my head, um, it felt like um, this cloud kind of hovering over me. But when I was able to put it down and type it out, it felt like I had control over it now, and it was a very healing process, honestly. And
Yeah.
I've even been recommending other veteran friends of mine, even if they're not going to like work on publishing, hey, maybe write it down to see how you feel about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess that's all.
Fantastic. I mean, I just thank you for that. I mean, that is really hard work, what you did. And to turn that basically into a gift for others, like that's what you did there. I find that really admirable. So I just wanted to say
Thank
thank you
you,
for that.
thank you
Talk,
very much.
talk to us a little bit about your publishing decisions. Like, did you self-published, I believe you said, and like, was that your go-to from the beginning, your plan, and what was that like?
Well, like I told Ken earlier, I felt like I've been kind of a baby this whole time in the author in the writing process. I feel like my only assistant this whole time has been Chat GPT, and they've been kind of like helping me with the like how to like format everything so that it's for the ebook version, and then format it for the paperback version, and then how to upload it to Amazon and everything like that. And I had to follow like step by step instructions and just and it
Yep.
was kind of a pain. But I powered through, and I figured other people have done it. I was like, I'm sure I can do it too and figure it out. So
Yeah. It is tricky, all the layout pieces and all the steps you have to follow. So for sure, I
yeah,
think
and it feels
it
like
can be.
every other like writer or author or editor has like some like tips they wanted to throw out about like what programs you need to use for, and then all of it was just so confusing to me. And I just kind of like just let it all go, and I just said, chat, just talk me through what I need to do, and and that's it. So I feel like I'm giving too much credit to an app though, so I'll just stop right now.
Understood. So before we get to your reading, I thought I would just ask one other thing that you had touched on in the call document here is that like one of the things that your editor pointed to you was to change your first chapter to make sure you were right in the middle of the action.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know, I wanted to sort of ask you about that because I have heard so many times from editors, and I see it in my own work that it takes me forever to get to the action, and like half of that stuff has to get cut out and start right from the action. And I don't know, I just wanted to know if you wanted to share a little bit about that and your experience with it.
Sure. Yeah. So when I first started writing my book, it kind of went in chronological order from basic training on. And even though some exciting and real things you will read about it and that happen in basic training and onward, I felt like the main thing, the meat and potatoes people wanted to hear about was probably about Iraq. And so I took one of the stories that were kind of near the ends and pushed it towards the front, and just to kind of like grab readers in the beginning and make them care a little more and want to read more. Um, and I guess in a way, like he got me to look at it from a reader's perspective, and he was right because when I go to read a book, if it isn't grabbing me within the first 20 pages, I'll probably just put it back on the shelf for a while.
Yep.
So I do appreciate that piece of advice, and yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah,
second that
same.
as in terms of the way the books are structured, because and the action doesn't have to be bombs and blowing up cars and all
No,
that. It can just be something happening. But
yeah, just
opening
something
with that,
interesting.
right? Opening with that to hook the reader in, and then bring back the characters and kind of give them their backstory. Because I'm like you, Jason. If I get a new book and they introduce a character and there's like 2 pages of background on this character before we even keep
Mhm.
moving,
Right.
yeah, that's a hard stop for me. I struggle whenever a book is like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
congrats on your decision there. I think that was a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of, what I was telling people, because I didn't know, because I'm still new at this, I was like, well, I kind of like Pulp Fiction my book.
Nice. Yeah, that's one way to describe it for sure.
I kind of
I
chopped it
love
up
it.
and moved things around.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna have to, Ken, let's promise to each other right here and now we're gonna use that expression in the future.
Pulp
Done.
I
Fiction
pulp fiction to my book.
Yep, I pulp fiction the crap out of this thing.
All right. We are up to the reading portion of our program. Jason, when you're ready, you can take it away and start by sharing with our listeners where in your book that you're starting from to orient us, and then take it away.
Okay. Well, just like how, I was saying that I probably want to take an exciting part of, of the end and kind of bring it to the front. That's what I'm going to do with your viewers and listeners right now. And so I'm going to basically talking about. Um, I think this is the first time I was hit by a roadside bomb, and just kind of my point of view, what we went through, and what I was thinking about, and yeah, just basically my point of view of everything. Looking out the passenger side, I saw palm trees and grass tufts blur by in my upper periphery. I focused on the wobbling parallel line where asphalt met dirt, just feet from our spinning rubber. Like a flash of lightning, my ears rang, and immense pressure built around my nose and eyes. The wave ripped through my brain, allowing me to process time only at a snail's pace. Smoke and debris fogged the space between Mac and me like a dust storm. We had lost all visibility. Fractured glass lines connected end to end and expanded outwards as the window spiderwebbed from its impact and shrapnel. Everything went black. Awakening seconds later, my cheeks and lips burned. Small glass shards had embedded in my face. The Humvee smelled of smoke, diesel, and sulfur, and I couldn't see much of anything outside of our shattered window. My heart raced, feeling like a mouse caught in a trap. How do I get out? Trying to gather my thoughts, but I didn't know what was happening. Only a second had passed until I heard Max screaming. I'm hit, Sergeant. I'm hit. he bellowed at the top of his lungs. Our vehicle kept driving forward slowly. His face was pale white. Mac was as scared as I was, but I had to lead. What would First Sergeant do? What would Sergeant Leverett and Herrero do? I was in the middle of an ambush. I needed to create distance and return fire, or we were fucked. 4 seconds had passed. I could hear a 50 caliber machine gun shooting 3-round bursts in the distance. Mac's DCU pants were turning dark red near his left inner thigh and testicles. As the blood flowed, he yelled louder. Fearful that he thought he was going to die, I glanced behind me through the metal gap and saw that McCone, our gunner, was shell-shocked. He had wild eyes, like the veterans in old grainy black and white videos of World War I that I saw on the internet. Drive, Mac, drive! Tobacco chew spit flew out of my mouth when I screamed. I tried to control my breathing and prepare myself for close combat. Mac hit the gas and the engine roared, but the vehicle sped up little. He continued yelling in pain. I could hear his agony, and it seemed as if my little brother was hurt. The vehicle veered right despite Mac's effort to keep us straight. My plan was to cover Mac and get the medic to us before he bled out. I gripped my M16, M203, tucking the stock under my armpit. I moved the selector switch from safe to semi, going out swinging, not knowing what was on the other side of the newly added steel door. Suddenly, we felt another shock from the front as I was about to tell Mac to hit the brakes and swerve to the right. Our vehicle went from 30 miles per hour to nothing when it hit a telephone pole 2 seconds later. The shadowed front windows prevented us from seeing it. Only dusty, fragmented daylight beamed through the thick bulletproof glass. We flew forward, and I smacked into the dashboard. I didn't feel any pain from the impact as adrenaline pumped through me. Stunned and rattled again, I tried to refocus. Sergeant, I'm bleeding. Mac's suffering pulled me back to the present. I'm going to get Doc, I shouted, and my hand reached down to unlatch the door. Smoke bellowed out as I thought to run towards the vehicle behind us, Alpha 1-3. I exited the Humvee, not knowing what to expect. As I stepped out, there was a sharp pain in my right foot. A dime-sized hole was near the pinky toe of my tan leather boot. My right shin was also bleeding, and the blood was seeping through my camel pant leg. I limped past the rear corner of the Humvee where McCone was stunned. He was trying to wake up from the daze and get back to scanning and covering with his M240. The other 4 Humvees from our group came our way. No one was firing any more shots. The few civilian vehicles in our vicinity had U-turned instinctively. Herschel flung open the door of Alpha 1-3 and ran towards our truck at full speed. More men exited their vehicle and moved our way. Everyone scanned around and stayed at the ready, preparing for anything else unexpected. I yelled for the medic as I stayed in a fighting position at the corner of our Humvee. Medic! Mac's bleeding! I yelled to Doc Boston, our one and only medic. I had seen many war movies in my life, and I never thought I'd have to be the guy who yells medic, yet there I was. Boston was of average height, white, with light brown hair. He was in one of the rear vehicles and charged toward Mac's driver's side door with a medical bag ready in his hand. The Humvees closed in and formed a semicircle around us for security. You all right, bro? Herschel's face looked flustered as he glanced at me, then looked me over quickly. He saw some blood on my pants and the hole in my boot. Yeah, bro. Mac needs attention. I'm good, I said, and then motioned to Mac. Herschel flung around to the other side to help Doc Boston with Mac. He talked as if we were from the East Coast, but I can't remember. The other men were already helping. 2 men picked up Mac and sat down on that pavement in front of Alpha 1-1, our busted truck. He was still yelling in pain and bleeding heavily. Boston stuck Mac with a needle of morphine to numb his pain, and then quickly applied a tourniquet to stop the bleeding. Watching in dazed amazement as he pulled out items of his medical bag and went to work. It seemed like it took Doc only a few minutes to patch him up. Oh, thanks, you guys. I love you guys, Mac said as he was instantly high. He suddenly turned into Jim Morrison and started talking about his feelings and the universe and how we were all connected. I honestly thought Mac was going to die as there had been so much blood coming out of his wound, but thankfully we had a great medic who was confident that he had stopped the bleeding. Everyone seemed to be finally calming down after a couple of minutes. Lieutenant Sierra had called for a medical evacuation over the radio. We had to wait for their team to arrive from Fob Warhorse, which was the closer base. Holy shit, Rumbaugh. Pappy said in his godfather voice. Gardner, Herschel, and Manny looked at me like I was the walking dead. Go look at yourself in the mirror over there. I limped over to see my reflection in the passenger mirror. Pappy must have wanted to see my expression because he followed. Dried blood covered my skin from abundance of glass fragments, and I looked like something from a zombie film. Like a cat got into a fight with my face, right near the eyes and cheeks. My ballistic sunglasses had scratches from end to end, and a chunk of metal the size of my thumb was embedded in my visor of my Kevlar. The only reason shrapnel didn't pass through and strike above my left eye was because of the metal frame of my NVG mount stopped it. You were one lucky motherfucker, Sergeant Sheraton slapped me on the back. Holy shit was the only thing I could think of to say. I stared at my reflection for almost a minute before limping back to the crowd of guys. Mac was still hallucinating and telling everyone he loved them. Oh, thank you, Doc. I love you, man. You're like just the best, said Mac. He was lying on the ground with his head propped up on his helmet. Doc cut open his pants to access the wound. Pure white bandages wrapped around his thigh. Doc was next to him, checking the wrap he'd made around the tourniquet. One man from second squad took the Singar radio out of Alpha 11 and searched for any other sensitive gear. If the vehicle's recovery failed, the mechanics would haul it off and strip it for parts. Rumbaugh, you good? Doc Boston asked as he looked up from Mac's leg. Bleeding a little, but I think I'm okay. My ears continued ringing, and I exclaimed, as everyone sounded so quiet and distant. Looking down at my boot, I was afraid that I had lost a toe. Not wanting to take my boot off and see the lobbed off, nubbed cartilage and bone sticking out, I had to work up the courage. Alpha 1-2 was right next to us, and Ferris was in the back on the 50 cal. Mac was still lying there like a stone junkie in La La Land as Ferris yelled down to him. Mac, he yelled with a concerned look across his face. It was the first time I'd ever seen Ferris genuinely concerned and empathetic towards another comrade, as he was always the clown. Quick to make light of a hard situation. Ferris's eyebrows went up high, and his mouth hung open. He spat out chew quickly before yelling again, Mac! Mac lazily looked up at Ferris, and they both locked eyes. He was hanging over the tan metal rim of the Humvee. Mac listened intently as his friend and colleague Ferris hovered over him like an angel to comfort him in his time of need. Mac, I get your PlayStation, right? After a couple of seconds, laughter erupted all around at once. Sheraton and Doc chuckled as they leaned over Mac. I started cracking up also, and then Ferris's finally broke. His look of concern switched to a naughty cackle. Even Mac began laughing. And that's it.
Thank you for that, Jason.
Okay,
that
so-
was just such a, oh, I'm sorry, Ken. I was just going to say, like, that was such a great snippet of what you described, you know, the horror and the dark humor and the very realness of what you experienced. It really all came out in that clip.
And
Thank you so much.
I want to take note of something that Jason said in leading up to this before we started reading. The first time I got hit by an IUD or IED, like, how many times, Jason? Is this, I mean, was this a normal occurrence? I mean, you just so
Sadly,
casual
it was.
sounding about it, and it's kind of crazy to me.
Sadly, it was. We were expected to just kind of walk it off and go right back out there. I mean, I don't know how many times I saw looking back, how many times I saw guys in the chow hall just like rubbing their temples while they were trying to eat dinner. And it's like, that's how we dealt with it. We just took some Tylenol and got back out there. And we're expected to just carry on and still be part of the team. Unless we were, for example, Mac, in the story, he got, and readers will hear the rest of the story, but he basically got a chunk of shrapnel the size of a baseball stuck in his leg and almost bled out. It was a big kind of operation that they had to pull on him, and it was really close to hitting his main artery. He went on crutches for for a couple weeks, and it seemed like I just blinked and he was out driving again. And I don't know. I think a lot of people would be like, expect, oh, somebody like that would go to launch school probably and have to. No, we're we were such a tight knit unit that I think maybe looking for that kind of assistance or a way out, kind of, it felt like we were failing the rest of our guys. And so unless it was something serious, I think a lot of us were trying to just stay there for the man next to us.
Man, mad
Yeah, I mean, I
respect.
noticed. Yeah, mad respect, exactly. I noticed in your excerpt that you read that you at one point said, as if my little brother was hurt. And I mean, that really kind of drove it home for me. And my experience, I'm the wife of a 30-year county deputy sheriff. And so my experience with the dark humor is from that. Like in stressful
Oh yeah.
situations, I understand firsthand how helpful that dark humor is. And that is just a fraction of the darkness. His experience is a fraction of the darkness that you all had to experience. And so,
Oh no, I mean
um,
law enforcement, they got to deal with so much stuff that I can't even.
yeah,
But it's a different. Yeah, I get
it's
it. It's a
different.
different thing. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, tell our listeners and our viewers where they can find your book, where they can learn more about you.
Yeah, I actually my wife just opened me up a Facebook page, and so if you want to look me up, you can just type in Waves of Shrapnel, and my book page will come up. And I also am going to start showing different things I'm working on. Like I'm working on my second book, and I'm showing illustrations from it and everything. And also I want to start showing like funny personal things on there too, just to like, I don't know, I like to make people laugh.
Yeah.
But I'm also on LinkedIn. That's a really boring account. I just kind of have that just to prove that I'm a human out there and that and I have some kind of titles near my name and whatever. But you can follow me there if
Sure.
you want to also.
I think most of our LinkedIn profiles are like that. I just want to prove
Yeah.
Yeah,
that I
yeah,
actually exist.
yeah.
So the book's been out roughly about 4 months or so now, 3.5 months. What do you
Mhm.
do for marketing? Any appearances on your docket?
As far as marketing goes, I'm still kind of in my baby phase. Like I just updated my Amazon profile to show like an A+ deal where it shows photographs and then brief descriptions of different things that happened in my book. Um, and I've just been going around and kind of putting up flyers. I've been talking to, uh, I've been trying to email and connect with other listeners, radio hosts, and podcasters and things like that. But that's about it. It feels like I'm just kind of getting going. I'm just getting started because the paperback version didn't come out until March 10th, actually. So only the ebook's been out, and I've only sold like a few copies of those. But
Yeah.
uh,
And
yeah,
a lot of authors, whether self-published or traditionally published, come to learn quickly that writing the book is only half the battle.
yeah,
Marketing is the other half. And some would
yeah,
argue, and I would argue, that's the longer, tougher road to hoe, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's,
yeah. I
yeah.
had no idea. No.
Yep. So good luck with that. All right. So I want to thank Jason for taking time to come on today, introducing everybody to Waves of Shrapnel. I want to thank everybody out there for hanging out with us in the Midwest Writers Room. I'm Ken Humphrey.
And I'm Luella Schmidt. Words ignite imaginations and spark change. Never underestimate the power of storytelling.
Midwest Writers Room is a production of the Wisconsin Writers Association. Writing and editing by Luella Schmidt and Ken Humphrey. Sound design and editing by Ken Humphrey. Music for the Midwest Writers Room was written by Michael Ramir C. For more information, please visit wiwrite.org/podcast. Thank you.